Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 73. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching. And as always, I want to thank you for sharing your time with me. Time is our most valuable gift, and the fact that you're willing to share it with me truly does mean a lot. Now, today, I'm really excited. I've got a special guest that I had the pleasure of meeting recently that has really made an impression on me. And I wanted to share his story with you because I believe it can also make a difference for you. So I want to welcome Erik Westrum to our podcast today, author of the book, Becoming Elite. So I'm going to talk about you a little bit, Erik, and then I'm going to bring you on. Just so you know who Erik is and why I chose to have him part of our world here at the Mindset Architect is he's a former professional hockey player, motivational speaker, leadership coach, entrepreneur at heart, and author of Becoming Elite, What It Takes to Transform Your Life Using the 4 Proven Pillars of Performance. He's had a passion to help others since he was a young child, and that has not changed as he continues to fulfill his purpose in life, to be a servant leader. After playing professional hockey for 12 years, Erik went back to the Carlson School of Management to get his MBA to gain more knowledge and expertise to help leaders and companies grow exponentially. After consulting on numerous projects and coaching hundreds of people over the past 20 plus years, Erik has established the principles and processes through Becoming Elite and what it takes to transform your life using 4 proven pillars of performance. He continues to conduct workshops for people from all walks of life and remains committed to leading thousands of people and making a shift. Erik resides in Prior Lake, Minnesota with his beautiful wife, Kelly, and their 4 amazing children. He continues to guide people, businesses, athletes, and anyone looking to improve their life through his proven process. Erik is excited to walk alongside you on your journey to becoming a better you. So awesome. Erik, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to see your face and for us to have a little chat today. So, Erik, we're all about at Rethink Coaching and Mindset Architect is that perfect blend of business strategy and thought strategy. And in our conversations, and I think about your professional career, both as hockey and what you're doing now, I'm just curious if you can share with us your take on mindset and the importance it has played in your success in hockey and in your current career or current endeavor.
Yeah, for sure. I think first, though, I got to compliment you on the sign in the back. I got to get one of those with like my Elite logo.
Absolutely.
Rethink Coaching. I love it. But the mindset, for mindset, for myself, whether it was through sports or where I am today. And I mean, that's why I wrote the book, Becoming Elite. I was just having a conversation, earlier today. I work with some college programs, and was talking to some of the coaches, and I was looking back and I said, embracing discipline is when I'd have success, right? But it was like learning through the failure is like the biggest and the hardest thing. Because a lot of times when people fail, it's the mindset, right? I'm going to push the easy button or am I going to push the hard? Right. And you choose your hard, right? And people talk about all the time, you choose your hard. And when I had success, I would choose the hard of overcoming failure, but then also utilizing my mindset. So the mindset for me would go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. If I was in a fixed mindset, I would go to blaming other people. In hockey, I would ask to be traded. I would blame my line mates. I would blame. But then realistically, I'd look in the mirror and I'd be like, okay, Erik, are you doing everything you can do? And it started, and yes, it's, and I talk about it in the book, and I know we'll hit on that later, but we talk about the mind, the body, and spirit, soul, everything in your that can help. But the mind is the most powerful tool that we have. The power of the mind I talk about in the book. It's if you think negatively, negativity is going to happen. Right. And I think that's the power is like anything your mind can conceive, you can achieve. Yep. Right. And I think that's what people look at and they're like, well, I can't do this. Yeah. Sometimes you need athletic ability. You have to have some type of athletic bone in your body. Right. You can't do certain things, but you can get to a certain level to become there. And it's all in the mind.
Yeah, and I think, Eric, you said something really important. It's in our world of social media, Instagram, Facebook, all of the outlets that we have. You don't really see people on there celebrating their failures, like, oh, I've really, failed today, and talking about it. But that's really where the magic lives of the growth. And I think we have associated it, for whatever reason, as failure is just such a negative thing. And I love that you talk about it, because that's where the real growth happens. Is like, if we would just pause enough to look at the failure and gather the opportunities from that within itself can provide great legs for success. Then you combine it with the mindset piece, and man, you can take that and run with it and achieve different levels of success than you've ever had before. So I'm a huge fan of celebrating when I mess up, because
Well,
I know I at least did something, right?
yeah, well, I think that's the difference, right? Is like you said, I think if you look at the word failure and you look at the word discipline, nobody's going to think about anything positive, right? You think of failure, right? It's sorrow, sadness, heartache, loss of, championships or wins, losses. And, in discipline, you look at like fear, you look at I'm handcuffed, I'm restricted. Instead, it's really not restriction, it's direction, right? It's not fear, it's freedom. And I think same thing in failure. If you look at it instead of failure as learning, and it gets back to what you said right at the beginning, it's the mindset. It's that shift in your mind of going from where am I today versus where do I want to be tomorrow? And you just said it, right? These things, these cell phones, instant gratification. And it's funny, I actually just posted today about celebrating the wins. And tomorrow, now that you planted the seed, I'm going to talk about failure. Hey, talk DM or whatever. What's a failure you had? And then what did you learn from it? Right.
Yep.
So I love it. But you're learning. And I think the mind, like you said, it's taking action and not just sitting on the bench. You're in the game.
Yeah. It's easy. I think it's Brene Brown that talks about getting in the arena instead out of the stands and onto the field. And I think that's where you just have to get to in life. And if you're playing it safe, you're really robbing yourself of tremendous growth as a human being, professional, whatever it is. And the failure really is, just chock full of great stuff for us to move forward to. So I love to, I sometimes will tell a client this, and I think I take them by surprise. I'm like, I hope you failed this week.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? I'm like, because to me, that tells me you're out giving it your all, and we made an attempt and we're going to learn from it. So I love that. Eric, I ask people this question a lot. I have a morning routine that my day is not complete if I don't do my morning ritual. So I do my cup of coffee, I do my meditation, I do my journaling, I do my prayer. And that to me is just the foundation for me having a great day. And even on my craziest days, like last week, I had some funky virus where I was, I talked to you about this, running 103-degree fever. I still did my journaling. Now it's kind of funny to read what I wrote. But do you have a set morning routine or something that you do, whether it's morning, afternoon, that really gets you framed up and ready for the day?
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I talk about it in my book too, is like I talk about the morning is kind of the daily check-in, and then recalibrate in the afternoon, and then a nightly pulse. And that's more, those are just like short snippets, right? So it's reframing, hey, what am I going to do from a mental, physical, spiritual standpoint? And then check in, did I do it? And then kind of celebrate the win or look at what the learning is. But for me, the longer answer to that routine is similar to what you said. If I don't get up early, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read my Bible. I'm going to do Pilates reformer. I'm going to do a strength workout. I'm going to do a cardio workout. Then I'm going to hit an ice tub. And then I'm going to start the nutrition and hydration portion of my day. And it sounds like a lot, and it is, but I used to look at it around, I just need to do 15 minutes, right? So it might be read a Bible verse, do some stretching, do that, right? And it was just little bits, but I struggled with that so much because I'm like, if I'm not like trying to achieve the most, then I'm going to do nothing. Right. And I think that's what happens with us. It's like paralysis by analysis. Yep. Well, I want to run a marathon, but really if I go walk on a treadmill for 10 minutes, that's not going to do anything. So I'm just going to do nothing, right? And I got over that of going from the 15 minutes, whereas now like this morning, I had about an hour and 45 minutes. That usually will take me at least. I need like a 2-hour block to get set there.
Yep.
And I'll still go into the day sometimes with anxiousness, right? Or fear or anxiety around certain things, but I've prepared myself to handle those situations because of what I did in the morning. So similar, I mean, my routine, I swear I keep getting up earlier and earlier, and I'll be going to California on Sunday for a speaking engagement. And I'm kind of excited because I get, a 2-hour jump start. So now if I wake up, at X amount of time, I can keep waking up earlier and earlier and add more time. But that's my routine. To your point, if I don't do it, same thing as simple as hydration, right? If I don't drink X amount of water, I get tired, dehydrated. I can't show up authentically who I am. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
A lot, journaling and morning routine, like anything else, right? 66 days to form a habit. And I always say it just takes one to lose it, and it does, because you can really sabotage yourself in a 24 to 48 hour time period. So every successful person that I've talked to, typically journaling, meditating, prayer is part of their day, and both a morning and an evening, which you hit on. You got a morning and a kind of a recalibration, and then your evening. What I want to spend a little bit of time talking about is your great book, Becoming Elite, and then the 4 pillars. And if you could just kind of walk us through, it's psychological, physical, spiritual, and emotional are your shifts that you talk about in the book. And if you could just kind of like high level go through those with us and just share some key points from each one of the sections. And we can start with the psychological shift. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So again, just to kind of set the stage, and I hit on it a little bit, I went back and looked at when I had success in hockey, in business, in life, and it was always the same thing, right? It was always embracing discipline. It was always, my mindset, my body, and everything else. And as I'd have failure afterwards in hockey, right? Like start a business, lose everything, start this, lose. And I'm like, almost like self-sabotage sometimes. I looked at it, I'm like, okay, what was I doing to be successful? And a lot of it's common sense, right? But it was packaged differently for me. So it started with the psychological mindset shift. And what that was is it was focusing on going from a fixed to a growth mindset, right? So many people, okay, I'm an ex-professional hockey player. Now I should have opportunity. I should have, and honestly, no one cares, right? It's what are you doing for me now in the hockey world? You have a contract, you can perform now you can't perform. Okay, the next guy in and see you later, right? Yeah. Or, athletes feel bad for themselves, right? Because it's like bankruptcy, divorce, depression. I mean, all of this stuff, the statistics are out there and it's all real, right? Yeah. As an athlete, you're going to hit one of those 4 buckets no matter what. And some of them are unlucky and hit all 4, right? Yeah. But I think it's that mindset of going from, hey, here's what I'm given, to going to, hey, there is no limits. And that's the psychological shift. Talks about the power of the mind, talks about growth mindset, and it talks about just getting out of your own way and controlling what you can control versus looking at blaming other people on what they can control. And a perfect example, and it's out there on the internet or anywhere, it's like a big white sheet of paper and it's got a black dot in it. And people ask, hey, what do you see? I see a black dot, right? And what are you looking at? You're looking at the one dot that's the mistake or the blemish, instead of the full white opportunity. And I use my kids as an example, right? My 4-year-old daughter would probably draw 3 circles, use the button as a nose, or the 3 buttons on a snowman, and start drawing and use the canvas. Whereas my 16-year-old is like, hey, Dad, can I get a new piece of paper? Right? or myself, I'm going to go and probably flip it over. So it's how you approach it from a mindset. And as we grow in experience, wisdom, learning from failure, that's what a lot of the mindset and the psychological shift is about, is just shifting your mentality. And it's the strongest part of your body. It's the mind. Your mind, you can, if I say you can't do it, you believe you can't do it. If I tell you you can do it, you believe you can do it.
Absolutely. And the growth mindset is truly important. One of my favorite mentors, when I early on in my coaching career, you get kind of cocky because all this stuff, right? And she was really good about keeping all of our egos in check. And she's like, you never slide into home plate. You realize that, don't you? And I was like, what? And she's like, you're never going to know. I mean, it's always a constant evolution if you choose. And that's what a growth mindset is, being open to learning and being open to accepting that you don't know everything. And there is so much opportunity, whether it's through hiring a coach, whether it's through, taking a course or getting another degree, growth mindset is probably one of the most important things for us to always do, because when you slide into that fixed, you are blocking out so much opportunity. So I love that's on there. What about physical shift?
So physical, it's not necessarily like, for me, it's physical, right? Like I said, if I don't work out, and that's like my easiest one to master, I would say, is the physical side, just because of playing hockey and I did it for a living. And I love that part of the process. Like I loved working out, shoot pucks, doing everything. Like the game part was fun. That was exciting, but it was like I loved thriving off of the workout and the process part. So for me, yes, it's around that. It's around healthy lifestyle, making the right decisions, right? Because that's leveling up your health. And again, it's which hard do you want? Do you want, obesity, doctors, surgeries, short-term life, right? Disease, or do you want wake up at 4:30, 5:36 in the morning, work out for a half hour, 2 hours? Like which hard do you want? Right? I'm choosing this one all day. And it doesn't guarantee I'm not going to have other things happen, but it's going to fulfill my life. And that is directly related. And the physical shift is around a disciplined routine. So a big part that I dig into there is about discipline, because if you're embracing discipline and you have discipline, that's where you're going to make progress from the psychological, the growth mindset. To your point, one day can take you completely derail you off the tracks. And it's all those wins and it's keeping going. And I talk about the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is you do it when you want. Discipline is you do it when you don't. And for me, my wife thinks I'm crazy because I'll go to sleep in like Lululemon, like workout shorts and shirt, and I'll have socks in my pocket. And the reason for that is I get out of bed and what do? I grab my socks, I put them on, walk downstairs, and go right into my workout room, right? Walk right by my vision board every morning. And it's a disciplined routine to look at the reminder of, hey, what are you here to do and how are you going to do it? And when I don't do that, like I'm a disaster, right? And it's just, I know myself, and it's the disciplined routine that I'll hit on in that chapter.
Which is awesome. I always laugh as entrepreneurs, salespeople. I coach primarily real estate agents. We're great salespeople. And without the discipline of the physical part, we start negotiating with ourselves the second we open up our eyes, right? Well, I'll go to the gym later. I don't need to do that right now. I don't need to call Eric. I can call him, whatever. And you start that negotiation process. But when you build in that discipline piece, it's huge. And the thing that you said that strikes me, like going to bed dressed, it's like you've made a decision. You've pre-decided the night before, and you've eliminated all other options. Like I'm going to get up and take my, get in sweats or get my shorts. You've made that decision the night before, and that plays such a powerful part on our brain because the decision's made. And I always liken it to when I was a kid, your mom lays your clothes out for you. So all you had to do was get up and go, right? And that's exactly what you did. So I love that part about the physical discipline, or the discipline to things to do, and making that decision, deciding. So awesome. Spiritual shift. Let's go there.
Yep. So spiritual. And I always, no matter if I'm speaking in front of 10,000 people or 10 people or 3 people, as I always preface is like, it's not like a faith or a religion pushed down your throat. I always say, hey, I am a Christian. I do believe in Jesus Christ. He is my Lord and Savior. And the biggest part in that is like, what are your beliefs and values?
Yep.
We all have beliefs and values. We all have a North Star. And it's not my job to push it down your throat, but it is my job to say, okay, from a spiritual standpoint, you have beliefs and values. So let's just take your core values, for instance. So if mine are faith, family, fitness, work, friends, community, whatever that is. But then I look at my North Star and my compass, and I look at my schedule. Well, where am I spending most of my time? Is it in those areas or is it not? And a lot of times it's flipped upside down.
Yeah.
And similar to, like you said, when I'm working with individual clients, the biggest part I look at, right, and I call it, you're the CEO of your life. So for me, it's the C is clarity, E is execution, and the O is ownership. So if you don't have clarity on your goals, right, and your values, like you're not going to follow through with it. So you're not going to execute it, and then you're not going to be accountable. So number one is in the spiritual side is like, what is either, whether it's your higher power or what are your values, what are your beliefs, like what's your North Star, spiritually, because if you don't know what it is, or you don't know where to go, I mean, you feel lost. I was talking to a client that I had, and he had gone through AA and all sorts of different stuff in his life, and he's like, Erik, until I realized the spiritual side, he's like, I wasn't moving forward. And he goes, it was crazy. I was in all these meetings for so long, but until like we discussed it and kind of went through that of like, what is the real spiritual point of it? It's what's your beliefs and value. Like first, it starts with you and what do you believe in? And then if you really believe in it, right? If you look at spirituality or faith, it's the belief in something unseen. So if you really believe on where you want to get to, like I believed I wanted to play in the NHL. And did I know? I wish I could say, hey, every kid's going to make it, but less than 1% make it into the NHL. But you believe it, but you have to continue to do it. And it's a blind faith, right? In yourself. And for me, right, it's in God, right? And the unseen. So that's the spiritual part. It's a lot on like beliefs and values, right? And just like rituals and just in that sense of more so in yourself and with others, being authentic and making sure you're showing up.
Yeah. I believe in that very strongly, having a belief that there's something bigger, and not to impose my beliefs on anybody, but it is when you combine the two worlds together, it's pretty amazing. And what I love about like North Star core value, and we do an exercise called a values elicitation, where we help you elicit your not like your moral compass values, but your true values and what you want to do. When you know your core values, or know your North Star, not only is it easier to succeed, but it's really a lot easier to say yes or no to something. Because when you know those, like I keep it on my phone, and when I'm presented with an opportunity, somebody approaches, hey, would you like to do this project? I can open that up and look and go, it doesn't meet that one, and it doesn't meet that one. It's a hard no, unless we're willing to make some changes to the project. But I love that spiritual part of just having those values identified, because it helps in ways that you can never even imagine. And for me, it's one of the quickest ways to make a decision if I'm going to say yes to a project or no.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's the power of the no, right? I used to, it's like, talking to people about, hey, do you speak on this or that? It's like, yeah, I do. And it's like, well, do you really? And do you want to? And what a mentor of mine said, hey, Erik, yeah, I used to do that too. You say yes, but if you're going to spend the next 20 hours to prepare for this presentation, to learn about it and like actually deliver, because I customize everything I do when I speak. So I'm spending a ton of hours behind the scenes. And you have to, I love how you said that, because if I'm saying yes to it, it has to align with that, because I'm going to grow, right? In the growth mindset. I'm going to believe in, I'm going to have a routine of, learning more about their company and where I'm going and what I'm delivering. And I've done it where I did it because it's like, hey, we'll pay X amount to do it. And it's like, I was paid pennies on the dollar by the amount of time I had to put into something I was not passionate and I did not align with. And so I love how you said that. It's the power to say no, and then the power to say yes with what you believe. So I love that.
Yep, 100%. All right, emotional shift. Let's talk about that last fourth pillar.
Yeah, emotional. It's a lot about living intentionally, living authentic. One of the big ones that I talk about that you can use in, whether it's real estate or in sales or in life, is relational versus transactional, right? We're in such a transactional mindset. Like, I need to close X amount of deals. I need to get X amount of commission. Like you said, I need to make X amount of calls, whatever that is. But in reality, I always look at it, if you're more relational and you're more vulnerable, especially for men, vulnerability equals masculinity. And if you look at the relation part, when I used to hire people at a previous insurance and finance business I would say, hey, what drives you? Money, helping others, flexibility, and I'd have them rate it. If it was money, I wouldn't hire them. People are like, wait, but that's sales. And I said, yeah, but let me ask you a question. If you're going to go after 10 clients, right, because you're going to make 10%, or you go after 100 clients because you're going to make 3%, which one's going to make more money? Helping more people, right? And that's where I look at it, is like, you help more people, you're going to make more money, right? You help more people, you're going to make a bigger impact. And so if you can look at it relational versus transactional, that's the emotional shift. Same thing in with marriage, right? If I'm looking at, hey, I'll do the dishes, so you rub my back tonight, or I'll do the laundry, So you do this for me, right? Then it's not really sincere. You don't have that emotional connection, and you're not developing your community, your people. And that's when I work with people individually. It's like, hey, we got to align, with what are your 4 pillars. You got to dig into them. You got to get clarity, set goals, execute, and be accountable. And I'm going to keep you accountable.
Yeah, that's huge. In our world, and really in any sales world, we have a database, right? And I heard somebody say something about a year ago that really changed the way I think about it. Is people call it a database or a data bank, and it becomes this thing. And he said something that just really kind of resonates with this piece. It's like, it's your community. You're building your community. And just that shift of, you're not just a name in my database, you're a human being, and I'm choosing to have you be part of my community, has a complete shift in how I show up when I call you, when I send you a text, when I send you a handwritten note, whatever. So I love that emotional shift, taking it from transactional to relationship. And I think this is going to sound woo-woo or whatever, but I feel like that's what the world is missing right now, because we've become so transactional behind our phones, behind doing stuff. And that relationship piece, so many of us are really, really missing. And I don't know if we understand that's what we're missing, and we just feel like there's this void. But I think that's really key to treat it like a relationship.
And I mean, I'll give away a sale for a relationship any day, right? Is like, for me, I'm totally transparent. Anytime I work with a company or an organization, I'm like, hey, here's what you need, and here's what I think can help, or what I know can help. And it's the same thing, like when I'm working with people, I'm like, hey, if we align, like, let's do it. Like, I'm not just going to make a transaction to make $1, right? Because I've done that, and those are usually the ones. It's like the itch that you can't, or you got to keep scratching consistently. Yep. Right. And it's like, it's not worth it. Whereas if it's relational and it's just transparent, like, hey, what do you need? Can I help you fulfill that? Right. Here's the cost. If it makes sense, awesome. Right. Yeah. And if it doesn't, right, you can still talk. You can still create that relationship. And I think that's the power of relational versus transactional, for sure.
100%. So I love these 4 pillars: psychological, physical, spiritual, and emotional. Those are really great pillars. And I know how I got your book. I ordered it off of Amazon. But Erik, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the easiest way to get a copy of the book and B, connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon, obviously, books, that's where all of them are sold and purchased. But for me, kind of 2 spots. One is erikwestrum.com. So as long as you spell my name correctly, erikwestrum.com, or my email is eric@erikwestrum.com. I give out my email myself. I give everything out because I'm one of those, like, I'll impact and inspire people. And then I have like newsletters and free resources, free courses. I try to give as much value as possible to people to be able to implement not only those 4 pillars, but my next book is the 1% Impact that I'll be coming out with here in February. And it talks about 15 minutes a day. And it's that impact that you can make. And that's why I do what I do. So yeah, eric@erikwestrum.com or erikwestrum.com. Those are the best 2. Again, perfect. As long as you spell my name correctly.
You'll find it. Westrum. So for those of you who are not watching this on the YouTube channel, it is Erik with a K, and then Westrum, Westrum. So,
oh yeah, true. Because audio, yeah. So ERIKWESTRUM. Or if you look up Erik Westrum Hockey on Google, you'll find me.
We'll find you. You're pretty easy to find in the world, Google. So Erik, thanks for being here. I love talking to other thought leaders, and that's what I really consider you to be, as somebody who has made a difference and is continuing to make a difference. The 4 pillars are brilliant. And it's just a really good foundation for us all to do a check-in with ourselves. So I highly recommend grabbing a copy of the book, and we're going to be following you. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, appreciate it, Tony. Always appreciate what you're doing too in your space. So keep it going, keep impacting and inspiring people.
Absolutely. All right, team, we will see you next week. Thanks, Erik.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.